Welcome to another program in our series, Freethinking Forum. I'm Bill Weir, the host and producer, and I'm delighted today to have with me a distinguished leader of Northwest Community Television, Mike.
How you doing? Welcome. Thanks for having me.
And Mike Johnson, you have, I understand, in your office there's another Mike Johnson.
Yeah, there's a lot of Mike Johnsons at work.
Is this nepotism at work?
No, in fact, when I actually hired Mike, our news director, and people around the building go, well, why did you hire another Mike Johnson? I go, he happened to be the best qualified. He's our news director.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to get into any name discrimination issues, but I will say it's a little confusing around here when people ask for Mike Johnson, because they always say, do you want Mike Johnson in administration or Mike Johnson in the news department? So,
yeah.
And I'm the guy in administration.
You also have two titles.
I do.
Explain the difference between the two.
Yeah, because there's really two organizations here. One is Northwest Community Television, which is a nonprofit 501c3 organization.
Yeah.
And we operate studios and mobile equipment and do training for the public. In fact, this program, you are a volunteer here. You are doing like a community create program kind of on your own,
right,
just as a volunteer. And so you asked me to be on this show and talk a little bit about what we do here. And again, one of the things is the nonprofit organization. The other is a government agency called the Northwest Suburbs Cable Communications Commission, which is a joint powers agency of 9 cities in the Northwest suburbs that got together way in the late 1970s and early 80s to develop a franchised area when cable television was first coming into play in the Twin Cities area.
Good. You
so
had
I'm
foresight.
executive director of both agencies, one government, one nonprofit.
Mm-hmm. And now tell me a bit about your background.
Oh my gosh, how far do you want to go back?
Are you qualified to be the executive director of these two?
I don't know. I'll try to answer that and see. After I worked at the Star Tribune for a while in public relations when I was going to college, and that was like in the late 70s. I think I ended there in 79, early 80, but on March 17th, 1980, March 17th is St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
I was hired by an Irishman over in Fridley, who was the general manager of a television station there, a cable television station, which was owned by Storer Broadcasting, and they operated 3 cable outlets in the Twin Cities metro area, one in Fridley, one in St. Louis Park, and one in Bloomington. Those were the original cable systems within the metro area. So I started there, worked a couple of years. I became the programming director in a very short period of time. And then in 1982, they were looking for someone to come out to the Northwest suburbs because they were building a brand new system out here. And so I was a cable company employee at the time, as were several other people in the production area. But one of the first to be hired to work and get community access, we now call it CREATE, get that going in the Northwest suburbs. And we had facilities all over the Northwest suburbs, different studios in different locations. And it's been a whirlwind ever since. So for those many years, I was working for the cable company, but by 1985, the cable company needed more space in their building, and they really thought
pushed you out?
Well, not pushed us out, but asked us if we could politely say, hey, we need space, you need space. And it turns out we had some space right across the street from the cable company.
This place?
This spot that we're sitting on right now, in 1985, it was just a dirt field. And so we ended up buying the land and then building a studio complex where this sits today. And there's been 2 additions onto this complex since that time. We moved in June of 1986 into the first portion of the building. Then we consolidated some studios all into this facility in 1999, roughly, and have been operating out of this building ever since as the primary location. So. But anyway, so I've been doing this for a very long time. I was the assistant executive director and general manager of the station for the longest time. And then the executive director, I think, retired roughly 5 years ago, and I took over as executive director and been doing that ever since. I've served on all kinds of boards and commissions, and so.
Well, it sounds like you were well prepared.
Well, thank you.
And now I hear you're going on to something national. What is this?
Well, I'm gonna. There's a national board.
You're not going to leave here.
Oh no! I just serve on a national board called NATOA.
What's that?
Well, it's a national organization, National Association of Telecommunications Officers and Advisors, and we focus on telecommunications
Yeah.
policy and law, and making sure that public rights of way are protected, community television interests are protected, and so I've been serving on that board. I was elected through a nationwide voting system to this board. Previously to that, though, I mean, I just didn't automatically get to a national board just for the sake of it. They looked at several things: as how long have you been in the industry, and by this time I'm an old timer by those standards.
Yeah, you're an old timer.
And prior to that, I served two different terms on a group called MACTA, which is the Minnesota Association group of the national group. I served as a board member there. And so between all my experience serving on those boards, serving on various cable commissions around town, they put me on the board.
Wow,
So I've been busy.
good. And so, does that organization lobby the FCC?
Yeah. There's a lobby effort, and the FCC. Yes, yes, and yes. And I have been to the FCC. In fact, I even talked in front of the FCC about certain issues that are of our interest in terms of
Good.
community television and those issues. So
Now, I understand the chairman of the FCC, former chairman maybe, came out here when he gave a speech in St. Paul.
yeah, well, he didn't come to this facility, but he was in St. Paul. His name is Wheeler. Last name is Wheeler. He's no longer the FCC chair. He was in under the Obama administration. Now the new FCC chair is Chairman Pai, who was appointed by Donald Trump. So he's the FCC chair. And from what I understand, at some point down the road, you're going to have a former FCC commissioner on.
Oh, yes.
Nicholas Johnson, no relation to me, of course, with the name Johnson, but. He sounds like an interest. I did a little research on him. He was involved with a lot of big decisions back in the 60s with
right.
FCC policy.
And he wrote a book, How to Talk Back to Your TV Set.
Yeah.
And then was probably the key man on the commission that got the provision that the cable systems should provide public access.
Well, I'm telling you, I got to get a Christmas card list to Nicholas Johnson, because if it weren't for him, I probably wouldn't be sitting here
You're
right
right.
now. You wouldn't be sitting here right now, and maybe this building wouldn't
Well,
be
he
here right now.
told me in 1967, I think it was, to watch for a cable system coming and make use of this
Yep.
public access channel.
Right, because there's, and I suppose maybe this is a good segue into this whole idea. You know, we're all concerned about media consolidation, and the FCC has allowed for a lot of media consolidation over the last many years. Media consolidation is not a good thing. It's a good thing if you're a media a company owner and you're just acquiring properties. The problem with media consolidation is it puts too much power into too few hands. They can control pricing on terms of advertising and that when you have, say, a local owner who owns several, not one, not two, maybe 5 or 6 radio stations in the Twin Cities area, setting ad rates on those stations.
Yeah.
And same thing like with TV. When you can have just a couple of, there's more than a couple, but what I mean is having too few people and then number of voices and all that. And beyond that, one thing we don't talk about very much because it's not really electronic media is what's happening with newspapers too. And newspapers are suffering, and that's due to all the technology and things, but community newspapers, even these local community newspapers have scaled back so much. So there's less and less information being written about locally. And you could go and search through 100 channels and not find something, or you see the same stuff rehashed over and over and over on a 24-hour news cycle without a different perspective.
But we do it here.
We do it here, and that's a great segue in terms of the exciting things that we do. We've been doing it since 1982. I probably told this the last time you had me on the show. We have one of the founders, Ray Stockman, said, we have stories to tell. We're underserved out here, And granted, we have some really good local broadcast stations in town. They do a really good job. There's some solid journalists there.
But they're trying to appeal to a much
They're
wider
looking at a much
geographic area.
wider audience and sometimes a statewide audience. And we're focusing in hyper-local content. I'm not just talking news, but we do sports, news, public affairs, you name it. We're out there. And we've told thousands upon thousands of stories.
And you help people understand their own city.
Exactly. You know, they say all politics is local. It truly is. I mean, I served on a city council many years back, and there's something called NIMBY, not in my backyard. Nobody wants the power plant, the railroad tracks, the power lines, the high-density housing right next to their property. I mean, whatever it is, I've heard everything. But that's the kind of stuff where people go, you know, that's where you could go, I'm going to go down to my local city council meeting and, you know, voice my concerns. The chances of you and I, you know, heading to Washington and voicing your concerns are pretty rare that your average person goes there and, you know, whether either testifies or sits in the audience to listen to people, because it's expensive to go there and it's time consuming and it's
Well, we have our town halls
exactly
back here.
right. They can do it that way. But our job is we cover all the local city councils in 9 cities. We've covered thousands and thousands of meetings, gavel to gavel coverage for the last 30 plus years.
And you have the capability of making that city channel only in that city.
Right. There's that where you could just be narrowcasted to that specific city. But nowadays, you can also watch the content on your own schedule. And that's through, online aspects where you go, okay, there's a 3-hour, let's just say there's a 3-hour Brooklyn Park City Council meeting. I don't know if they go that, I mean, it's probably rare.
You can see it later.
Yeah, you could watch it later, but you could just go on the agenda and say, you know, I don't want to watch 3 hours of it. I just want to watch that segment where they're talking about a development on Zane Avenue. Yeah. So, I see that's agenda number 3, click it on, you can watch that. You don't have to sit through the entire meeting. That's one of the things we do. That's one of the services that we do for all of our cities. And that has been, and people watch it. The interesting thing, because we're going to talk a little bit about technology changes here, is that people, you can measure that till you know, I mean, you don't know who's watching, but you know that people are watching because, for instance, I'll give you a real good example that happened last year. There was a theater, there was a historic theater in Robbinsdale, and Hy-Vee Foods wanted to come in and build a development there. And then there was a group trying to protect the theater for historical purposes. Well, an average Robbinsdale City Council meeting might get maybe 100 or 150 views or something on the internet. These meetings went into hundreds and hundreds, and sometimes I think a couple of thousand people watched because it was something they were really interested in.
Yeah, a lot of people concerned about whether that theater would stay there.
Bottom line, Bill, is I look at it this way: if we don't do it as a community operation in terms of all local content, if we don't do it, who will? And the point is, no one else is going to do it because the broadcast stations don't have the time, the resources, the staff to do all this hyper-local content that we're doing every single day. And that's what separates us, too.
Even the annual parades.
We're at a parade as we speak right now, and I'm not sure when this show airs, but we are out at a parade right now with a crew.
Yeah.
There's a TV truck there with 4 or 5 cameras on it, announcers, graphics, all kinds of interesting things. So we have a full crew out there covering the parade. We have another crew of PR folks, handing out prizes and trying to promote our new brand, which I'd like to talk about.
Well, let's talk about that.
Well, the segues here are going amazing. I'm telling you, you will be on my Christmas card list too. You and Nicholas Johnson.
Good.
Now, this is not a Christmas card, but this is a little message card that was developed for what we call Connected Community Experience.
Connected.
Yes, Connected. So I'm going to hold that there. Anyway, so for the longest time, we've operated under NWCT, then we operated a channel called 12. And what we did is we consolidated everything in. What we're doing is taking 2 websites and putting them into one. And because the channel number 12 is becoming less and less, and has become less and less important, because our channel, like on HD, this program is being recorded in HD and will air on HD.
On channel 859.
Right. Well, if this were on channel 12 in the Northwest system, it would be in a standard definition channel. Well, I'm here to tell you that a lot of people are watching high definition in the upper tiers and rarely watching programming in the lower tiers. And so, but we couldn't have a channel 12 up there. So it just got a little confusing, like, where are you going to find us? So what we did is we developed this brand called CCX Media, and CCX Media stands for Connected Community Experience. I mean, we are connected, our community, you can look at this from several ways, but our communities are all connected. We are constantly making connections with our community in terms of connecting people with their government and telling stories about their friends and their neighbors. And it's all about community. It's not, you know, we have zero, I don't say zero interest, but minimal interest of things that are happening outside area, because our focus is the Northwest suburbs. There might be a national story that we want to localize every now and then, but the bottom line is our interest is to cover these 9 cities. And we've got a crew of people in all the different departments, whether people are here in this studio creating program locally. I mean, we're talking about a local topic right now, or somebody in our public affairs area working on city programming, or within our news department. And then the other...
And sports.
And sports.
Yeah.
And the third word is experience. So, and we just took the X, we highlighted the X because it has a little punch to it, as opposed to going with CCE, it's CCX. Kind of like Excel energy, you think about that, and it just has, it has a good ring to it. And it's the experience. People are experiencing community TV by watching it. Yeah. We have people in the studio right now, in the studio and in the control room, who are experiencing making a program, and sitting at home and watching it. So it's all, you know, those 3 words are critical to our overall organization.
Yeah, it's a great new brand.
Right, and then we have sub-brands. So our main sub-brand areas are news. So we have CCX News.
News.
There you go. CCX Sports.
Sports.
CCX Cities. This is all the city things that we do. And then finally, CCX Create. And Create is a name that took over for public access.
Yeah.
Public access, the term has been around a long time. Here in Minnesota, it's got a special meaning for people loading their boats at the public access on the lake. And
Right.
even back then, we thought, boy, that's a little, because our organization name started out as Northwest Suburbs Community Access Corporation. That was changed, boy, within the first 3 or 4 years, where we said, wow, maybe we should change it to Northwest Community Television. So there's no, you know, what is community access?
That
so
was
we
a
made
good decision. Yeah.
And the company still operates as that's like the business name of what we do here, but the brand of the programming is under the CCX Media name.
And all together under CCX Media.
Correct.
So
all these umbrella, so there's those umbrella, CCX Media is the umbrella, and then those sub-brands that I talked about, news, sports, cities, and create, are those focus areas.
Yeah.
And so within our mission and our vision for our organization is we really want to focus all on local, and we want as many people as possible within the Northwest suburbs primarily to watch what's on our channels, what we put out on the internet. Now, granted, once you put things on the internet, they go everywhere, and so people can see our programming all over the world if they want, and there are people who click on. I mean, we look at some of our Google YouTube analytics, and it's just like, wow, are you kidding me? I mean, and some of those views, we're averaging right now close to 250,000 views just on some of the local content every month.
Really?
Those are really big numbers for us.
Yes.
And then in addition, we're roughly out to close to 70,000 homes on Comcast and also on CenturyLink. CenturyLink is another provider in the area. They're starting to build up subscribers.
And I understand CenturyLink carries our programs to other parts of the metropolitan area, don't they?
Yes. One of the unique things about CenturyLink is they show everybody else's community television centers and all their programming. So if you happen to be a subscriber, I mean, they got a long ways to go in the Northwest suburbs. They're just starting to hit the marketing aspect of their service called Prism TV. But yes, you can see all the local programming then metro-wide. So, but we're very excited about this brand, Bill, and people will be seeing more and more of this. All of our vans are finally done. The trucks, the cars, everything, the building.
All we need now is a sign out by the
It's interesting you mentioned that. So you are like Mr. Perfect timing, because 2 hours before you and I just sat down here, I was actually meeting with somebody about our building sign.
Good.
So it's like everything that you're talking about is like all coming to fruition.
Ever since somebody chopped down the Northwest Community Television sign.
That thing had seen better days. The snowplow ran into it a couple of times. And so anyway, I know we're down to probably like the final 6 minutes. What are some key questions you want to ask?
Well, you've talked about the uniqueness of the service, and certainly the technology changing.
Yep.
Was there anything more you want to say about that?
The technology is just amazing. We've gone from an analog world to a digital world. The main thing is what we're finding is people want to see things on their schedule, on demand.
Yeah.
Traditional appointment viewing as we know it, where you sit down and say, hey, family, we're going to sit down and watch the 6 o'clock news all together, or we're going to sit down and do this. That's going away. It has gone away. I mean, some people still appointment view. The main thing that gets appointment viewed now is some live events, like live sports. People don't like to watch sports after they know the score. That's true tune-in live appointment view programming. But people want to see things on their schedule, and they want to see them in different ways. Like maybe on their mobile device, we have an app that people can watch programming. It could be on some type of tablet, PC. You can basically see, and before I forget, CCXmedia.org is where you want to go and see all this. If you just, type that in on your tablet, your phone, or your PC, going to CCXmedia.org will get you to all this great content.
Mike, we just have 5 minutes
Okay.
left.
I'm loving this.
There is going to be a national conference in Minneapolis in July focusing on community media.
We are very fortunate, Bill, that
You'll be attending?
I'll be attending, and I'm also moderating a panel, and one of our board members, Zipporah Masese, is going to be a speaker about multilingual programs. So we're going to have a good showing there. And it's not just me. There's going to be, I think, 14 people there with a combination of staff and board members who are attending. It's a national community television conference. It was held in Boston last year, and this year it is right in our own backyard. Turns out that the executive director, Mike Wassner is his name, he's originally from Minneapolis. So this is kind of a great homecoming for him, that this national conference is happening in downtown Minneapolis in mid-July. So and this program may air even after that, but so we'll say it was a great conference. And if you're watching before that, we're going to say it will be a great conference.
Okay. What else would you like to add, Mike?
Well,
You've been a great guest.
we're down to a couple minutes here. I just want to I want to mention that that we have got phenomenal staff here, and I truly mean that.
Yes.
A lot of people have been here for a long, long time, and if you don't have a turnover problem, it means things are going actually pretty good. And I think our staff is top rate. We've got great management team and great employees across the board in all departments who really enjoy what they're doing.
They sure do.
And
it creates a community with the volunteers too.
Right. I mean, I hear a lot of great things, especially on this side of the building where you got the community coming in. The other side of the building, we don't have as many community people coming in because our staff is producing. We'll get mayors and city council members and some guests on the other side. But this is where, on this side of the building where we're in this studio right now, there's a lot of people that come in, and I hear often from the volunteers and different people that they love working with the Create staff here. Mm-hmm. They've been doing it for a long time. They all have great attitudes. And half the deal is having a good attitude about your job and outlook on life.
Do you want to talk a bit about the improvements that have been made lately?
That just goes on. Well, yeah, we did a whole new lighting system, LED. It actually doesn't take up as much electricity. There's less heat generated. We did that within both sides of the studio. We added LED lighting, and finally, after all these years, We have some dimming capability, dimmer boards, and that's all due to like technological changes with digital technology, and LED lighting is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we did the
And
control
the
room.
control room, that was an even bigger.
Oh, that is great, and it's very user friendly in there, laid out very well. We were very happy on how that went. We have a great technical staff with Jamie Anderson, who's our lead technical guy, and then on the IT side is Sean Christie. Those two kind of work. You don't get a lot of airtime because they're working behind the scenes, soldering wires and making things go. But every employee here is important to the overall organization in terms of what we do.
I want to encourage viewers, come on down to our Create situation here, so that you can get an hour. What is it? An hour orientation, and then take a class in studio production.
Right. You can, if you just
portable.
go to ccxmedia.org and click on Create, you can find out about local classes that we have. And it's amazing that people have walked through the doors over the years and all the great things that have been done. Phenomenal. And there's some really great programs coming.
And some very talented people.
You too, Bill. You're including yourself in that, right?
I'm just an old timer.
Hey, where did the time go?
Well, I don't know.
I can't go overtime. It's good to see you again.
Good
Thanks
to
for
see
having
you,
me
Mike.
back.
Yes.
What a fun time.
And thank you for tuning in.